Welcome to part 14 of this course in which we will discuss the data protection compliance related complaints procedure and the penalties, possible penalties which might be imposed by the regulatory authorities on the non-compliances with the relevant and applicable data protection related laws and regulations. And if you have not watched the previous videos of this course, please go back and watch those videos, because different key concepts are discussed in those videos, like what is data, what is personal data, what is the personal data processing, what are different forms of processing, who is data agent, who is data controller, who is data processor, what are the rights and responsibilities, what are the key principles of personal data processing. So all are discussed in the previous videos. Please go back and check those videos. Let's talk about the complaint area of the data protection compliance. So the compliance with the relevant laws and regulations must be ensured by the data subject and data controller and data processor, because these are the main key stakeholders when we talk about the data protection. Data subject is the person to whom the data relates, and the data controller is the person or individual or organization that is collecting the data for any lawful purpose or for any legitimate purpose, like for example for the opening of a bank account of the data agent. So the data controller in this case would be the bank, which will take the personal data of the customer or the data agent, like the identification information, passport detail, and any other relevant information that is necessary to open the account as per relevant anti-money laundering laws and regulations. So the data subject should also ensure that the relevant data and complete and accurate data is provided to the data controller for the lawful and legitimate activity that is to be performed. Data protection authorities are there in different countries who supervises the overall data protection compliance on part of the data controller and data processors. So in the complaint procedure, whenever there is a complaint of the data subject, the data protection authorities facilitate the complaints lodged by the data subject, and the complaint might be related to any data breach, any unauthorized data disclosure, any unauthorized data processing by the data controller or the data processor, or the not having the complete and transparent information from the data controller. So there might be different scenarios and situations for against which the data subject might lodge the complaint to the data protection authority or the regulatory authority. Regulatory authorities differ from country to country, and we are not going into the specific detail of the countries. We are just discussing the concepts of the data protection complaints for educational purposes here. And in the previous parts of this course, I have already discussed different key concepts. Please go back and watch the videos so that you can have the clear idea of what we are discussing here. So whenever there is a complaint will be lodged by the data subject to the data protection authority, and that complaint should be in writing, uh, in which all the relevant cases or the facts should be mentioned by the data subject. Let's suppose if the data subject feels that the data is misused, then the case would be designed and should be in the form of writing, and the purpose of the breach or damage caused to the data agent should also be mentioned, so that the data protection authorities might clearly understand the reason behind the complaint. And the complaint should be with the supporting information and evidence required as per the laws, and the reference to relevant laws and regulations would also be required, because the data protection authorities work as per the relevant laws and regulations. So if you are the compliance professional or working in the compliance domain or risk management domain, then you can think of the relevant laws and regulations that might be applicable to your organization or institution. If you are not aware, and if you are already working in the institution, then you can ask your seniors about the relevant laws and regulations in the data protection domain. So you can then link this course with the practical scenarios in your organization. We are just discussing for the educational purposes, so you need to check your local laws and regulations. And I would request you to please share this course, all the parts of this course, with your friends and circle and colleagues, so that they can benefit out of this course and they can understand what are the broader requirements of the data protection. And finally, if the data controller or the data processor does not comply with the relevant laws and regulations, then there are very significant penalties, provisions that might be imposed by the authorities on the data controller and processor. Again, it depends on case to case basis, and the investigation would be performed, the reviews would be performed. We are not going into the detail of the possible investigation processes, but the purpose here is to tell you that this data protection compliance area is one of the areas in the overall regulatory compliance where the penalties are very significant, and you can think of the millions of dollars which might be imposed on as fines and penalties on the organizations by the relevant authorities. So if any penalty or fine is imposed, then it becomes the public news and the media coverage is there, and the organization not only loses the finance, but the reputational losses also occur. And when we talk about the reputational loss, we mean that the organization's customers might lose confidence in that organization, and they might switch their transactions or trading or relationship with that particular data controller or organization. And there might be situations that the whole operations of the organization or the data controller be shut down, and due to the significant nature of the penalties imposed by the regulatory authorities. So please subscribe this channel and press the like button and share these videos with your friends. That will be very helpful, and in the future I would be uploading more related courses and concepts. So please keep in touch, and thank you very much. And I would again request you to please go back and watch the other parts of this course where very key concepts are discussed. Thank you for watching.